I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who would secretly test her husband's loyalty. I used to roll my eyes at those stories, women making fake profiles, setting up traps, but when you start feeling that gnawing ache of doubt in your gut, logic stops mattering. You just need to know. It all started one rainy Friday night when Ethan came home smelling faintly of perfume. Not the kind I use. Something floral, light, expensive. He brushed past me with a quick kiss on the cheek, mumbling about a late client meeting. Normally, I'd believe him. Ethan was a financial advisor, and late meetings weren't unusual. But something about his tone that night, flat, detached, rehearsed, made my stomach twist. I noticed the way he avoided eye contact as he kicked off his shoes, the way his phone never left his hand. Over the next few weeks, little things started stacking up like tiny pebbles building into a mountain I couldn't ignore. He started dressing better for work, new cologne, fresh haircut, shirts ironed like he'd just walked out of a photo shoot. He laughed at his phone sometimes, the kind of laugh that used to be reserved for me. And when I asked who he was texting, he'd just smile and say, "Work stuff, babe. You wouldn't care." But I did care. More than I wanted to admit. I started memorizing his schedule, noting every time he left the house, every time he came home late. I told myself I wasn't spying, I was protecting what we built. Our marriage. Our years together. Our quiet mornings with coffee and stupid inside jokes. But I could feel him slipping away like sand through my fingers. One night, after another client dinner, I asked him directly, "Ethan, are you seeing someone?" He froze. Just for a second, but I saw it. The flicker of panic before he laughed it off, stepping closer to kiss my forehead. "Of course not. What's going on with you lately? You're acting paranoid." Paranoid. That word echoed in my head for days. I started questioning myself. Maybe I was going crazy. Maybe I was just jealous, insecure. Until I saw her. A woman named Clara had liked one of his photos on Facebook, a photo of us at the beach from months ago. She commented, "You two look great together." Innocent enough, right? But when I clicked on her profile, I noticed something strange. Ethan had liked almost all her posts, some with flirty comments like, "You look stunning," or, "That view's incredible." The view was her in a bikini. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. I didn't recognize her. She wasn't a coworker or a mutual friend. And that's when the idea hit me. The test. I created a fake profile. Nothing crazy, just a woman named Maya, with a few photos borrowed from a random Instagram model. Nothing revealing, just enough to seem real. I added him, waited, and within a day, he accepted. My heart was racing. I started small, liking his posts, reacting to his stories. Then, I sent a message. "Hey, you have a great smile." He replied in less than a minute. "Thanks, you're not so bad yourself." My throat went dry. My husband, my Ethan, was flirting with a stranger he'd just met online. Me. I pushed further. "Bet your wife loves that smile too." I wanted to see what he'd say. His response came almost instantly. "She used to." That one broke me. I stared at the screen, rereading those words until they blurred. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, to scream, to confront him right there. But instead, I kept going. I needed to see how far he'd go. Over the next few days, Maya and Ethan kept chatting. He told her he felt stuck in his marriage, that things had gotten cold. He said he missed feeling wanted. I couldn't believe it. We weren't perfect, but we weren't broken. Or, at least I thought we weren't. When he finally asked Maya to meet for coffee, I knew I had my proof. I set it up for Saturday afternoon at a little cafe downtown. I told him I was visiting my sister that day. I got there early, sitting in my car across the street, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight they hurt. Every minute felt like an hour. Then I saw him, Ethan, walking toward the cafe, wearing that same shirt he wore on our first date. My chest burned. He looked nervous but excited, like a man about to meet someone new. I watched him sit down at a table, checking his phone, probably waiting for Maya. For me. He had no idea I was right there, watching. I waited until he ordered his coffee, then I walked inside. His face when he saw me, I'll never forget it. Shock, confusion, then realization. Sarah, he said, standing up, what are you? Meeting you. I cut him off. Or should I say, meeting your new girlfriend? He went pale. The entire cafe went silent. I placed my phone on the table, showing him our entire chat. Every message. Every lie. Was this your idea of fixing things? I asked, my voice shaking. He looked down, silent, before whispering, I didn't mean for it to go that far. But you did, I said. You already went too far the moment you replied. He tried to grab my hand, but I pulled away. The look in his eyes wasn't guilt, it was fear. Not of losing me, but of getting caught. And that's when I realized something even worse. He wasn't afraid of losing me. He was afraid of losing control. That realization hit me like ice water. The man sitting across from me wasn't my husband anymore. He was a stranger in my husband's skin, and I suddenly saw every small moment of the past year in a new, horrifying light. The missed calls, the sudden late nights, the way he'd shut his laptop when I walked into the room. It all made sense now. Ethan didn't stumble into this. He'd been building a double life, one careful lie at a time. I didn't cry. Not there. Not in front of him. My voice came out steady, cold. How long? He hesitated, then muttered. A few months. With Clara? His eyes darted away, just for a second, but it was enough. I laughed, this ugly, bitter laugh that drew stares from the other tables. You know what's funny? I said. I was starting to think I was crazy. I thought maybe I was jealous for no reason. But I was right, Ethan. I was right about everything. He rubbed his temples, sighing like he was the victim. Sarah, please, it wasn't serious. I was just confused. I leaned forward. You weren't confused when you were sending her photos. You weren't confused when you told her I was cold. You weren't confused when you said you wished you'd met her first. His head snapped up, eyes wide. You read that. I read everything. I stood, sliding the phone toward him. Congratulations, Ethan. You officially broke something you can't fix. I walked out before he could answer. My legs were shaking so badly, I thought I'd collapse, but somehow I made it back to the car. When I closed the door, the first sob tore out of me like a scream. I sat there for what felt like hours, crying until there was nothing left. Just this hollow ache in my chest and the faint hum of the city outside. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed at a hotel, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything over and over. Every moment that now felt like a lie. The time he told me he loved me while texting her. The way he touched my hand during dinner, maybe thinking of her. It was like my entire marriage had been rewritten in front of me. The next morning, my phone buzzed. 30 missed calls from Ethan. Text saying he was sorry, that he'd explain everything if I'd just come home. I ignored them. By afternoon, he showed up at my hotel. I don't even know how he found me, but there he was, standing at the door like a desperate man. Please, Sarah, he said, his voice cracking. Just talk to me. I almost shut the door, but something, maybe curiosity, maybe exhaustion, made me let him in. He looked wrecked. Eyes red, hair messy, the perfect image of guilt. I can't lose you, he said. It wasn't what you think. I crossed my arms. Then tell me what it was. He hesitated, looking at the floor. It started with Clara, yeah. But it wasn't physical. It was just emotional. Emotional? I snapped. You told her you loved her. I didn't mean it like that, he said quickly. I was lonely, Sarah. You've been distant. Ever since your mom passed, you've been somewhere else. I didn't know how to reach you. His words hit a sore spot. He wasn't wrong. I had shut down after my mom's death. I stopped laughing, stopped trying. But that didn't excuse what he did. So, instead of helping me, I said quietly, you found someone else to make you feel better. He rubbed his face, voice shaking. It wasn't supposed to happen. She listened. She cared. And I didn't know how to stop. You didn't want to stop, I said. Silence. He didn't deny it. For a moment, I thought about everything we'd shared. 10 years together. The house we built. The dreams we whispered about at 2 a.m. And I wondered, could all of that really disappear because of one woman? One stupid mistake? But then I remembered the messages, the lies, the thrill in his words when he thought he was talking to someone new. And I knew the answer. Something inside me hardened. "I want you out," I said. His head snapped up. "Sarah, out. I don't care where you go. Just not here. I can't look at you right now." He tried to argue, but I walked to the window and stared out until I heard the door click shut behind him. I thought that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. 2 weeks later, I got a message from Clara. From her. "Isetta, I think we should talk." My blood ran cold. I hadn't contacted her, hadn't even thought about her name since that day. I didn't respond, but she sent another. "You deserve to know the truth. Ethan lied to both of us. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her. We chose a quiet park on a Sunday afternoon. When I saw her, I understood instantly why he was drawn to her. She was effortlessly beautiful, with this calm, confident presence. But her eyes were tired. Guilty. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to see." "You think?" I replied, folding my arms. She nodded. "I just need you to know, I didn't know he was married. Not at first." "Come on," I said. "You commented on a photo of us together." "Yes, and he told me you were his ex-wife," she said quietly. My stomach dropped. "What?" "He said you were divorced, that you were still living together until you sold the house. He said you were cold, that you cheated on him first." My mouth went dry. "He told you that?" She nodded, eyes glistening. "He said he was heartbroken." I felt bad for him. That's how it started. I sank onto the bench, my hands trembling. "He told me you were just a friend from work," I whispered. Clara sat beside me, her voice breaking. "I swear, Sarah, I didn't know. When I found out, I ended it immediately. He begged me not to tell you. Said he'd handle it." "Handle it?" "That's what he said when he wanted control." I laughed bitterly. "Of course he did." She looked at me for a long moment before saying, "He's been lying to both of us, Sarah." "I'm sorry. I really am." And for the first time, I believed her. She left soon after, but her words kept replaying in my head. "He said you cheated first." That night, I went home and waited for Ethan to come back. When he walked through the door, he looked surprised to see me there. "We need to talk," I said. He sighed, setting down his briefcase. "Can we not do this again?" "Oh, we're doing this," I said, stepping closer. "Did you tell Clara I cheated on you?" His face froze. Then just like that, he smirked. "She told you, huh?" "Answer me," I shouted. "Did you tell her that?" "What does it matter?" he snapped. "You made me feel like garbage for months. You pushed me away. What was I supposed to do, Sarah? Pretend I wasn't dying inside?" "You were supposed to be honest," I said. "With both of us." "You want honesty?" His voice rose. "Fine." I wanted someone to make me feel wanted again. And she did. You didn't. I stood there, stunned, staring at this man I once trusted with everything. Then, something inside me snapped, not in anger, but in clarity. "You know what, Ethan? You're right. I stopped making you feel wanted, because you stopped being the man I fell in love with." His jaw tightened, but he didn't say a word. I walked past him, grabbed my keys, and turned toward the door. "Where are you going?" he asked. I looked back and said, "To start feeling like myself again." And for the first time in months, I meant it. But just when I thought the story was over, when I thought I could finally move on, I found something that changed everything. A week after I left Ethan, I started packing up the last of my things from the house. He was staying with a friend, or at least that's what he said, and I just wanted it all done. Every room in that house felt haunted. The kitchen smelled like old coffee and betrayal. The couch still had that small dip on his side, like it was waiting for him to sit down again. I couldn't stand it. I was boxing up our photo albums when I found something wedged behind the bookshelf, a small leather notebook, one I'd never seen before. At first, I thought it might be one of his work planners, but when I flipped it open, my blood went cold. Inside were pages and pages of notes about me. Not sweet little memories or love letters. No, these were logs. My routines. my moods, things I said, even the times I came home, down to the minute. 9:47 p.m. She was quiet again. Avoided eye contact. Must be hiding something. 2:10 a.m. She turned her phone face down. Probably messaging someone. I froze, staring at the words. He'd been tracking me, suspecting me, for months. I flipped further. The entries grew darker, more obsessive. I know she's lying. Need to catch her first. Maybe if she feels jealous, she'll talk. My throat tightened. Jealous? Did he mean Clara? My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely turn the next page, but what I read next made me sit down hard on the floor. Started talking to Clara. She's perfect for the test. Sarah will notice eventually. Let's see if she still cares. I just stared at that sentence until my vision blurred. The test. The word echoed in my head like a siren. He didn't fall into that affair. He orchestrated it. He wanted me to catch him, to test my loyalty. My pain wasn't an accident. It was part of his plan. I slammed the notebook shut and pressed it against my chest, my heart pounding so loud it hurt. I couldn't breathe. I felt sick, dizzy, betrayed on a level I didn't know was possible. For hours I just sat there, the open boxes forgotten around me, trying to piece together what kind of man I'd been married to. When the first wave of shock passed, anger took over. I called him. He didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. So I texted him a photo of the notebook. Found her diary. You have 10 minutes to explain before I call the police. He replied in less than a minute. Don't overreact. It's not what you think. You tested me? I typed. You used another woman to play some sick game? His response came instantly. I had to know if you still cared. You were so distant, Sarah. I thought if I made you jealous, you'd fight for me again. I stared at the message in disbelief. He wasn't even sorry, he was justifying it. I called again, this time ready to scream at him, but he actually picked up. His voice was calm, eerily calm. Sarah, listen. I did it for us. For us. I hissed. You lied, manipulated, humiliated me for us? You stopped looking at me like you used to, he said quietly. I was desperate. You wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't touch me. I needed to see if you still loved me. By pretending to cheat? It worked, didn't it? I froze. He chuckled, a low, unsettling sound. You cared enough to test me back. You went undercover, made a fake profile. That's passion, Sarah. That's proof we're not dead yet. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He sounded almost proud, like this was some twisted love experiment that went exactly as he planned. You're sick, I whispered. You enjoyed watching me break. He sighed. No. I wanted to fix us. But you gave up too soon. You destroyed us, I snapped. There's nothing left to fix. I hung up before he could answer and sank to the floor again. My hands were shaking, my pulse racing. Every memory of him, every tender word, every apology suddenly felt tainted. How long had he been manipulating me like that? How much of our marriage had been a test I didn't know I was taking? I thought about Clara, too. He'd used her like a prop, lied to her face, played both sides just to get a reaction out of me. It wasn't love. It was control. The next day, I went to his office to confront him in person. The receptionist froze when she saw me. Mrs. Walker, she stammered. He's not here. When will he be back? I asked. He took a leave of absence, she said softly. Said he needed time to deal with personal issues. Of course he did. Coward. I drove home, fuming, still clutching that notebook. But when I walked into the house, something felt off. The air was heavy. The front door wasn't fully closed. My heart started pounding. I pushed the door open, stepping inside carefully. The lights were off, but I heard movement upstairs. My voice came out trembling. Ethan? Silence. I walked up, step by slow step, until I reached our bedroom. And there he was, sitting on the edge of the bed, the notebook open in his hands. You shouldn't have read that, he said quietly. I froze in the doorway. You shouldn't have written it. I shot back. He smiled, small, tired, but wrong. You were never supposed to see it. It was just notes. A way to make sense of what was happening between us. You call that making sense? I snapped. You used another woman, manipulated me, and then recorded it like a science project. You don't understand, he said, standing up. I was trying to save our marriage. You were slipping away, and I didn't know how to reach you. So you broke me instead? I wanted you to feel something again, he shouted. You shut me out, Sarah. You stopped loving me. No, I said, my voice trembling. I stopped trusting you. And now I know why. He looked at me for a long moment, his chest heaving, and then he said something I'll never forget. You think you're the victim, but you were testing me too. You made a fake profile. You lied to me. How is that different? I stared at him, speechless. For a split second, I almost laughed at the absurdity. I tested you because I thought you were cheating, I said slowly. You tested me because you were. He opened his mouth to speak, but stopped, eyes darting to the floor. He knew I was right. I took a deep breath. I'm done, Ethan. This is over. I want a divorce. He looked up sharply. You don't mean that.
Ido.
You're just angry. I'm free, I said, turning toward the door. But as I reached for the handle, he said something that froze me in place. You might want to check your own phone before you play innocent. I turned slowly. What does that mean? His smile was cold now. Let's just say I wasn't the only one keeping secrets. My pulse jumped. What did you do? He shrugged. Nothing you didn't deserve. I ran to my car, heart pounding, and scrolled through my messages. Nothing seemed out of place until I opened my email. There, sitting unread, was a message sent from my account. The subject line: proof. The recipient: Clara. I opened it, and my stomach dropped. Attached were screenshots of my fake Maya profile, along with the chat logs between Maya and Ethan. Except the messages had been edited, twisted. In his version, Maya was flirting first, begging him to meet, and at the end a note. I did this to see if you'd take the bait. You failed. Signed, Sarah Walker. My name, my email, my account. He had framed me, as if I had been the manipulative one all along. The woman who pretended to test her husband and seduce him just to humiliate him. I felt sick. The last text from Clara flashed in my mind. You deserve to know the truth. What truth had she seen? What if she thought I was the monster now? And worse, what if Ethan planned it that way all along? That's when I realized this wasn't over. This had never been about love. This was about power. And Ethan was still playing the game, one move ahead of me. But this time, I wasn't going to be his pawn anymore. I was going to beat him at his own game. Because if he wanted to see how far I'd go to fight back, he was about to find out. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat in my apartment, staring at the dim city lights outside, my mind spinning like a storm. Every word, every fake smile, every kiss replayed in my head, but now it all had new meaning. Ethan hadn't lost control. He'd planned everything. The affair, the notebook, even that message to Clara. He wanted to destroy my credibility, to twist the story until no one could tell who was the liar anymore. He wanted me to question my own sanity. But I wasn't the same woman who cried in her car outside a cafe. I wasn't his experiment anymore. I was done playing defense. I started gathering everything: the screenshots, the real messages, photos of his notebook, the proof that he'd forged emails from my account. I even recorded our last conversation. My hands didn't shake this time. They were steady.
Cold.
A week later, I asked him to meet one last time. A closure talk, I called it. He agreed immediately, of course, because he always needed the final word. We met at the same cafe, where it all fell apart. He arrived early, wearing that same smug smile I used to mistake for charm. So, he said, leaning back, finally ready to talk like adults. I am, I said, setting my phone face down on the table. But first, I just want to know, was any of it real? He tilted his head. What do you mean? Our marriage.
Us.
Did you ever actually love me? He smiled, but his eyes were cold. Love is complicated, Sarah. What we had was real, but people change. You changed. I had to see if there was anything left worth saving. I nodded slowly. And now you know. Yes, he said, almost proudly. Now I know. I smiled back, but there was steel behind it.
Good.
Because now everyone else will too. His expression faltered.
What?
I turned my phone around. The recording app glowed bright red. You just admitted everything, Ethan. The affair, the manipulation, the fake emails, all of it. He went pale. You can't. Oh, I can, I said quietly. And I already have. I sent copies to your company, to Clara, to my lawyer. I'm done being your game piece. For a second, he just stared at me, his jaw tightening, eyes dark with something between fury and fear. You think this makes you the hero? He said finally. You think people will believe you over me? Doesn't matter, I said. I believe me. And that's enough. I stood up, took one last look at him, the man who thought he could break me just to prove I was worth loving, and walked out. This time I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just breathed. Outside, the air felt different. Lighter.
Free.
I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Divorce papers, rumors, maybe even more games from him. But it didn't scare me anymore. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't acting out of fear or revenge. I was acting out of clarity. Ethan had wanted to test my loyalty. But in the end, he only proved his own cruelty. And maybe that was the real test all along, the one neither of us knew we were taking. I walked away from that cafe knowing one thing for sure. Sometimes the biggest revenge isn't making them hurt, it's showing them they no longer have the power to. So now I have to ask you, what would you do if the person you loved most turned your entire marriage into a test? Would you forgive, or would you finally walk away?